I want to blend some things. So for example, I have two images that I edited. This one is shot at 15 seconds exposure. This one is shot at 0.5 seconds exposure. These are already edited. So yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show in the when you're in the library. If you're in the develop module, it shows you the edit. So let's say I have and I want to blend these two. What do I want? What do I mean by blend? So for example, I like shooting waterfalls with 0.5 or somewhere quarter to 0.5 second exposure to get this still get some details in the water. So you have the flow lines. It still looks like there is texture. If you go to 15 seconds, most of it is gone. It's kind of gets like very milky. You lose it. But on the other hand, I like how the pond here is much smoother, much nicer than in a half second. So how do I combine the two? So how do I blend these two together? So that's what I use Photoshop for, for example. So the way to do it, as I mentioned, is open these two things in Photoshop. So I select the two, right click, edit in Photoshop, and open as layers. Takes a second, especially if you import more than two, and I'll show you in a sec how to import. Like we'll do a more complicated blend, but okay. So there we have these two layers loaded, and now the layer that was shot at the 15 seconds is on top, and the layer that was shot at 0.5 seconds is at the bottom. If you want to switch the order, you can just drag in, and then I switched the order of the layers. But I want the layer that that is the has the most stuff that I want to keep. I want it to be the bottom one. So in this case, let me turn it off. In this case, most of my edit is done on this half a second exposure. I only want to blend this pond from the other image. So I would put the half a second at the bottom and the other one on the top. Now, I was shooting on a tripod, so this should be minor, but you want to align the layers. In order to align the layers, you want to select both of these with a shift or control. You hold shift and control in the mouse, and then you go to edit. You have auto align layers, and it will ask all kinds of questions. We'll use it for other stuff. I just keep it on auto. It will align your layers. In this case, there isn't much to align because they were shot basically from this. It's the same shot, it's just different exposure. But if there was some misalignment because something moved a little bit, it would align them, and you can crop and stuff like that. So it aligned. Okay, so now how do I blend it? So first of all, I want to duplicate the top layer so I see what I'm doing. And then here there is a opacity. So how opaque this layer is going to be. I reduced it to around 50%, so you would still see through it. So if I turn off the layer underneath, you can still see that one, but it's like you can change the opacity. This is almost 100%. This is like less. You can still see where you are blending, but it's not full intensity. This is just for, I will remove it after we blend. This is just for me to see what I'm doing. So now I'm turn this off, and I want to add mask. So I want to add mask. There is this at the bottom. There's this icon with like a rectangle with a circle that adds mask. So this is in Photoshop. White reveals, black conceals. So everything, if basically the mask shows you where you're gonna in what locations on the image you're gonna see the layer that it is applied to. So in this case, it's white, so you see the entire image, right? In order to switch it to black, you want to switch it to black color, so black conceals, so you're not going to see anything. It's Control I, it will invert the mask, or you can double click and then there is invert here. Okay, so what does it mean now? That if I turn off the top layer, right now I only have the bottom layer because the second layer has the completely black mask. That means nothing from that mask is in my image. And then, okay, so if I turn this on to kind of see what I'm doing, now I want to paint in what I want to see. So only the pond, I want to blend in the pond. So I go to brush. At the top, there is opacity and flow. It's the same thing. Uh, flow is the same thing as a brush in Lightroom, basically. Um, so it means 16%. That means it's 16% of maximum that you can get. So if you click multiple times, if you don't want uh, to kind of fully bring the part in, you want to only partially bring, and you can build slowly. So like multiple swipes of the brush, then you reduce the flow. Opacity means what's the maximum intensity that can come through. So if this is at 100%, you can bring 100% of your intensity. If you put it at 50%, maximum that will come through is 50%. Okay, in this case, we want to bring everything through. So what do I do? Like I increase flow to, let's say, 50%, something like that. We can always reduce the opacity of the entire layer later if we want to reduce the effect. But I want to make my brush a little smaller. Here in the brush, you can choose size and hardness. So hardness is basically um, how feathered your brush is. In most cases, I use very like 100% feather. So that means the transitions are gradual. There is no hard edges on the brush, but you can change it. In some cases, like if you're trying to bring something that's hard edged, like a building, you might want to make a hard edge. But I usually do in these blends. I usually use 100% feather. Okay, and then you just pay attention to what happens on the mask here. So I hold the left key and just wait, sorry, need to change the color of the brush. So we want white reveals, so we want white brush. And now you see on the mask there is it's right now it's gray because I only did one pass and it was 50% flow. But if I do another pass here, it becomes white, so it's 100% twice on the same. And I just paint in the areas that I want to bring in, just kind of. In this case, I would have gone with 100% flow actually. So basically, okay, I brought it in. Now I don't need the top layer. I can delete that one. In this case, I probably didn't need it at all because I know where I want to paint, but this is more complicated when you're not 100% sure. But wait, so again, I basically painted here that pond and only the pond. Like if I turn it off, you can see how it was before we blended it in. Now turn it on. So if you don't want it to be that strong, the effect, if you want to kind of combine both options, you can reduce the opacity of the entire layer. So just click on the layer, go here to opacity, and then 0 opacity, 100%. If you want somewhere in between, you can do that as well. So it depends what you want to do. In this case, it makes sense to do 100% opacity. That's the effect that I wanted. And that's it. That's done. So you can leave these as layers. If you save it, it will save it as a TIFF with all the layers. And if you reopen it later in Photoshop, it will remember all the layers. Or you can merge down, flatten it to make a smaller file and stuff like that. Another thing that, but before we go there, another thing that I do in Photoshop with what's called the Orton effect. You might have heard it, the name. So Orton effect is kind of like a glow effect, uh, soft glow. It gives your image a little bit softer look, a little bit kind of more dreamy look, has the highlights of glowing and things like that. There are multiple ways to do it. I'll show you how I do it, but it's by no means exclusive. There are other ways to do it. So first, to do that, I want a new layer that will combine both of these together, an additional layer. To do it, you press Control Alt Shift all together and E, and it will create a new layer, a blended layer of everything that's underneath it. So okay. So now once I have this layer, now we will do the Orton effect. To do that, we want to apply a blur to that layer, so it's not as sharp. So a way to do it to create this effect is to make the edges not super sharp. So the way to do it, you go to Filter, Blur, and then go to Gaussian blur. In the radius of the Gaussian blur, usually I use the resolution of your camera. So if you have a 24 megapixel camera, use 24. Mine is 33 megapixel. I use 33. Okay, I don't know how much difference it makes, but it generally that's kind of the rule of thumb. Then you do okay. So now you can see that it's very weird. It's all blurred, right? We don't. It's just a step. Don't worry. Nothing nothing happened. It looks correctly, but it's just a step. So first of all, we want to reduce the opacity of this layer. Generally, well, we'll reduce it in a little bit to show you what happens. But you also want to change the blend mode from normal to lighten. There is a blend mode called lighten. And lighten mean, basically speaking, is that your blur is going to go from light areas into the dark areas, so it's not, and not the other way around. But okay, so see what happens when I reduce the opacity of layer. So this is at 0 now. So usually for this effect I use somewhere between 15 to 30% opacity on this layer. We're not done yet. So now to finish it, I want to increase the exposure and contrast of just this layer. So there are a couple of ways to do it. One way is to click on it, or double click on it, and then no, sorry, not double click on it. It's on the image adjustments and brightness and contrast. I don't like that one because once you did it, you can't change it. It's and you want to change it, you basically need to restart. So what I do is I add an adjustment layer that will be brightness and contrast. So the adjustment layers are this icon at the bottom where there is a circle, half filled circle. If you left click on it, it gives you all the options of the adjustment layers that it has. Like it can change hue, saturation, vibrance, all the normal stuff. So I want to do brightness and contrast, and then if I leave it as is, it will apply to the entire image. That's not what I want to do. I want it applied only to the layer underneath. And the way to do it is at the bottom there is this rectangle with an arrow. You clicked on it. Now it's active. And if you go to layers, you see there is this arrow from the adjustment layer. And that means that this adjustment layer is tied to the layer underneath. So anything that I do to it is going to affect only that layer. And that's what we want. We don't want to affect all the other layers. So what do we want to do? I want to put brightness to +20, approximately 1921 is okay. And then contrast to 80%. Okay, so now it's a subtle effect. I'm gonna turn it on and off. So watch the water. So if I turn off, you see the water. If I turn it on, the water kind of glows a little bit. It reduces, so we can, let me increase the opacity so you can see it easier. You see the whites kind of glow. So if you turn it off, it's very obvious now. So and also this area where there is brightness, right? So it creates this dreamy look in some areas. It reduces contrast in this area as well. So I usually don't want it to be super obvious because I've seen a lot of people overdo this effect and you can easily tell that this was done. So usually I do like a very subtle effect around 22%, something like that. So there is a little bit of a glow. And then also, in addition, if I don't like the effect in some areas, then I can add a mask to this layer. And now this time I want to leave it white and then take a brush, make the brush black. And then here, if let's say I don't want as strong effect here on the water, I want it a little bit less. So I would put the opacity to 50%. I would put flow to like 25%, and then slowly wipe it off in this area. So to bring back some of the texture. Or let's say I don't want it here at all. Here I can just brush it off. So you see on the mask there's starting to appear gray areas because I put the opacity at 48%. So maximum that you would remove is 48%. And from with the lower flow, you remove 24% of 50% with each brush. So basically, how much is that? It's quarter is like 12% each brush or something like that. So it's kind of, let's say, so usually I would remove the effect from dark areas because dark areas don't glow. And also on the water, kind of like what I did here, you want to be careful so you do maintain some of the texture still in the water and stuff like that. Okay, questions? Okay, so let's do another blend. This is a little more creative. So the same technique as before can allow you to create slightly more creative images. So I have a series of images here that I took in South Carolina, right? And you can see you have I was shooting multiple images at the same speed, basically try to capture the different stages of the water flow, and I want to create a slightly combined effect. So for example, in many images, there's this ugly foam here that I don't want in my final image. There is one image where there is no foam here, but there is also no nice wave. And then here, there are a couple of nice ones, so maybe I want to combine a couple to create a nicer image. Okay, so what do? We open these guys all together, right click, edit in Photoshop as layers, and we'll arrange them to kind of slowly work our way through. I might not need all of them, maybe only some. So these might not have been fully aligned, so we'll see how it will. One of them might have been cropped or something like that. Okay, so we are all loaded. Let's align them just to make sure. Come on. Auto layers. Okay, so there is some discrepancies between the layers. I guess the tripod moved a little bit when I was shooting. It's okay. Now it aligned. It uses some of the detection of the edges, I guess, to align them. Okay, so let's see what do we want from each of the layers. So let's find the one that has no foam. Yeah. That's the bottom one. Okay, so I actually don't want it on the bottom. I want it on the top. I wanted to do it last. Why? Let's put it on the top. Why is it not moving? Ah, okay. Sorry. Okay, so now it's on the top. Let's disable it. We'll do it last. So now let's choose what elements of the images we want to combine. So let's see what we have in each of the images. So this looks nice. This looks nice as well, right? And then this one, kind of okay. There are multiple ways that you can combine, but let's say I want to combine this one and where's the most wide one, and this one. Let's say I don't want the bottom ones. I can erase them. Select, delete layers. I only want these two. So the top of the bottom one, and this is the top one. Okay, so I want most of it from the bottom one, but then I want to blend in this wave from the top, from the middle one. So do this exactly the same thing that we did before. Duplicate, reduce opacity to 50%, so I see where it is. Then put a mask on it, invert. So this kind of gives you an idea what it will look like. So make it kind of large and soft. Your brush, you can make, you don't have to, maybe we can do a little bit less flow so it doesn't come everything together. Okay, so we brush this on, and then I don't need this one anymore. And see, you have like a combined two layer flow. So now we have the top one, the last one. This one, I know where I want to, I just don't want the foam here. So again, same idea, duplicate layer. Here I might have gotten away without duplicating it, but let's be thorough. add a mask on this one, invert the mask, and now, okay, so we see where it is. In this case, make the brush smaller, make it 100% flow because I don't need multiple things, and then just go over here, and we are done. Now I can remove this one. Voila, we have no foam next to the log, and we combine two different waves to create a slightly nicer composition with multiple repeating lines, patterns, leading lines. And then from here, because there is no fully aligned, I would crop and go from there.